On this show today, we are going to be talking about editors. How do you find them? So stay tuned.
Welcome to the Christian Indie Writers Podcast, where we inform, encourage, and support Christian indie writers on their journey to publication. I'm Jamie Hirschberger. I write short fiction under the pen name J.R. Nichols.
I'm Jennifer Carl Tong, and I write historical Christian romance.
I'm Christina Catan, and I write Christian fantasy.
And we are missing one host, Rhonda Hagerman. Her leave of absence is continued as she deals with some health issues. I know that she appreciates all of your thoughts and prayers. If you have contact info for her and can reach out and let her know we're thinking about her today and every day, I'm sure she'd appreciate that. Meanwhile, we are going to say hello and good morning to those joining us for our live chat. Teresa, good morning. And Piper says, hi, everyone. And if you've never been able to participate in our live chat every Friday at 10 a.m. Eastern, we have a very active and vibrant chat community of independent authors. There's Shell chiming in with a hiya. It's really good to see all of you. And we appreciate each and every one of you, as well as our listeners who can't catch us live. I understand that we're big in the Democratic Republic of Congo. We consistently rank within the top 200 in our category there. So good morning to all of you who are listening there. And
I wish somebody who listens there would actually reach out to us and say, it's me. You know,
I would love it.
I'm one of them. Yeah.
I would absolutely love that. And so however you have found us and however you're listening or watching, we really appreciate you. And if you wouldn't mind spreading the word by liking and subscribing to our YouTube channel, joining our Facebook group, or just telling a friend that we're here for you and for them, we'd really appreciate it. So every episode, we go around the virtual table and we ask each other, what's up? What's been going on with you since the last time we were together? And I'm going to start with you, Tina. Oh, hi. Gigi's also in the chat this morning. Good morning, Gigi.
Yay.
And what's up with you, Tina?
Well, I'm really, really happy with this decision that I made to edit as I go, to do my editing and revision as I go, and to send 10,000 words at a time to my alpha readers. Because some of the feedback that I've been getting from the questionnaires that I sent out is so helpful.
Oh, awesome.
Like moving forward in the story, like I don't have to go back and change a whole manuscript because I'm still like this far and they're this far and they're saying, well, you know, I don't care about this character so much as I do with these. Mm-hmm. And so then I'm able to look at that character and go, so what do I need to add as I'm going to make this character more lovable or hateable to my readers?
Right.
So it's just so helpful. I'm so happy that I did it. So I'm really excited about the writing, and I've been getting like 2,000 words a day. So I'm really happy about that.
That's awesome.
Going really well right now.
Huge shout out to everybody who's helping Tina with that. It sounds like it's really been a great thing for you, Tina. So
yeah,
good job to you, and thanks a million to all your what do you call them, your best buddies?
I call them my alpha readers.
Alpha readers. Yeah,
we need to do a whole episode when you're all finished with this process. I would love a whole episode about alpha readers and how to utilize them. I think that's something we've never talked about, so that's awesome.
Yeah.
All right, what's I guess I will do my what's up next. I am continuing in the vein of, maybe I'm not. I thought I lost my quote. 10 Stoic quotes on resilience and hardship was my source for today's Stoic quote from orionphilosophy.com. Number 6 on this list of 10. Don't seek for everything to happen as you wish it would, but rather wish that everything happens as it actually will. Then your life will flow well. Epictetus. And I did close the window with my scripture parallel, but I believe it's Matthew 10:6. It's thy kingdom come, thy will be done. And it's interesting as I have basically taken my journey of life recently, this message of, accepting God's will for your life. It's when I pray that prayer, it isn't so much of like, uh, God, make everything be the way that you would want it to be, but it's more of a like, God, give me the actual, like, fake it till you make it, I suppose, is what I'm saying. So that I will actually trust that God's will is being done and that this is his good and perfect will for me as I walk through every experience in this journey, and trust that just like I trust that he's going to keep my heart beating, just like I trust that I'm going to blink, I'm going to digest my food without even having to think about it. God's good and perfect will is being worked out in my life. And so may I remember, and may I really intentionally embrace that God's will is being done, is how I'm feeling about it.
There's a church in Flint here that their like little slogan that they've been using is "In Flint as it is in heaven." And when I've been doing my devotions, I often write them out, and I've been writing, "Your will be done on Tina as it is in heaven."
Oh, wow.
Like,
wow.
in me, like, what is your will in me? And so I really appreciate today's quotes.
Yeah, I'm really glad that resonated with you.
And what else resonates with me too is within that same scripture, within that same prayer, is that God promises to give us, or we ask for our daily bread.
Well,
Don't give me a week's worth of groceries. Like, that's what I want. That's what I want. I want
so
the
you don't
whole
have to
year.
Worry.
Yes. I want the whole year. Let me
I want
give
a
me the
Google
whole
map.
year. Yes. Exactly. And that's not, so when you think about God giving you his will be done, understand that his will is happening, and that's like the long term, right? That's like that's the long game and what he's doing in our lives. But he's such a good God that even when we're in the middle of that long haul and we're in the long game and working that out and we don't see the whole thing, we look up and every day he's there. Every day we're getting his bread. We're getting bread. Every day he's feeding us and sustaining us every single day.
Well,
I heard a preacher say one time, "Why are you settling for a stale loaf of bread on Sunday when you can be getting a hot, fresh one every single day?"
Well, it reminds me of the manna, right? The manna, you could not store it up. It was not edible, and it's just goodness. Not to rabbit trail us too much, but
that'll preach.
Bringing us back to earth. We got some what's ups in the chat. Piper. Oh well.
Let's go to this one.
Yeah, Rhonda. Good morning, everyone. I'm at the doctor and forgot my headphones. Well, the whole room can hear the podcast then. But
I think she has it turned down, but just turn it up. Turn it up.
I can see your pretty faces and watch the chat. Oh, I'm glad we coordinated ourselves today for you then.
I know.
My lipstick matches Tina's shirt, and Jen and I are both wearing, we're the fall mums today.
We did not plan it either.
We did not. Jen pointed out how we all look like the mums. So it's good to hear from you, Rhonda. Thanks for checking in. Piper's also chiming in with a what's up. Her book is with the editor. Yay! Like for months, she's been like, I don't know how to end this book. And she's crossed the finish line. Huge celebratory time for Piper. That's so awesome. Gigi noticed our fall colors. She says, we're looking fabulous. Sent us a little leaf. How cute. Piper says, hi, Rhonda. Gigi says, hello, Rhonda. I hope you feel the love, Rhonda. You are loved and missed.
Yes,
and
for sure.
Hoping that we can see your beautiful face again sometime real soon. All right. So with the what's ups out of the way, I think it's time that we dig into.
You forgot Jen.
Oh, Jen. Sorry.
It's okay. I actually should just let you go. So Rhonda says, before I go on to mine, she says, good morning, Piper and Gigi. Everyone's looking very pumpkin spice today. LOL. I matched Tina today. Rhonda matches us too.
Yay.
Yeah. And Piper's picking the cranberries. Like cranberries fit right in there.
Wow. We've turned a corner.
We have. So my what's up happened at the last minute when I went to hit to start the broadcast, and as soon as it started the broadcast, StreamYard, which is the software that we use, decided to let me know then, after I'd hit start, that our memory is full, and so it's not recording this podcast. Nothing I can do at this point. because I already hit start and I can't, even if I go and I delete old ones, which I don't understand that with their system. I don't know why. Like, okay, I'm up to my 50, delete that last one, like the oldest one. Why can't they have that as a setting? But anyway, I'm just saying this because later on, if you are a listener and you listen as a podcast and this did not come out on time, that's the reason why. Because now I'm reliant on YouTube to finish processing this video so that I can spend a half a day downloading it, edit it, and then upload it, as opposed to just being able to hit. Yeah. Anyway, so that's my what's up, is that I now know that my day is a wreck
Uh,
because of StreamYard. Jeez, oh,
wow.
Pete.
Well, I'm glad that we got that
Ah,
update, even though it's a discouraging one. And thanks for doing that,
yeah.
Jen. The work that goes on behind the scenes to get this up and running, let me tell you, I've not been able to shoulder my fair share lately. And it's really, really awesome that you guys are making it happen. So
Making it happen.
making it happen.
God's
All
giving me
right.
my daily bread. He
Gotta
will
make the
sustain
sausage.
he will sustain me today. And I will get what I need today. That's what's gonna happen.
All right. Well, now I'm sorry for missing Jen, but now all the what's ups are out of the way and we can jump into the topic. And today we are talking about how to find an editor. And I think that we've got to recover a little bit of ground. First things first, sort of a deal. We should know what we're looking for, right? Before we start shopping.
Definitely. Yeah, because if you go shopping, and use this as a cautionary tale. I went shopping for an editor, and I just gave them this manuscript that was not ready for an editor.
It was your first
Number
time.
It
Your
was my
Mhm.
first time. I was straight out the
You
gate,
finished
and
your
I
first
was
book. Yeah.
running the wrong direction. I was that horse.
We can all laugh because we were all kind of there with you. Like, we were,
Yeah,
like, friends
yeah.
at that point, yeah.
So, like, you need to know what kind of edit, like where your book is in the editing process and what kind of edit you need and what kind of editor you need to hire and what to expect from that editor.
Well,
Yeah.
do you know what you expected? I mean, like, honestly, if can you kind of go back in your brain and think, okay, I finished this book. Did you expect like proofreading? Like, what were you expecting from the editor?
They were going to fix all the problems.
You didn't think there were that many
Ooh.
problems,
They're from like plot
honestly.
holes to commas. They were just going to fix it all and send me this thing, and I was going to hit okay, and I was going to be ready.
Right. But
Like, I
if
had
we were
Wow.
no
if we were
clue.
if we were to actually time travel back, the Tina back then really thought there was no problems. Like,
Yeah.
it's a big deal to finish your first book. Like, you haven't had much criticism yet, right? Now we're
Yeah.
different people. Now we like know the truth that there's going to be criticism, there's going to be some work that ahead. But when you first finish that first book, you're like, oh, look what I did, because it is a
Yeah.
big deal. It is a big accomplishment
Huge.
when you do
Yeah.
that. Huge.
I
And
was
so
like, I'm gonna get this back at like on Friday, and I'm gonna publish it on the next Friday, and it's gonna be done. I was absolutely
Well,
clueless.
at least you looked for an editor. When I finished my first manuscript way back, which it was just 50,000 nano kind of thing,
Mhm.
I like went through it once or whatever. And then I started to send pitches to traditional publishers. Now, granted, I didn't send off my whole manuscript, but I really did think in my head that, well, and I mean, maybe this was true however many years ago, that I thought, well, the publisher will do all of whatever that is.
Mhm.
Do you know what I'm saying?
Mhm.
And so I don't think that you're alone in not really understanding what is required. And especially in an independent situation, it's a whole different ball of wax.
Agreed. And the good news is, like, it's easy to find someone to take your money for an edit of your book.
Oh yeah.
The bad news is it's easy to find someone to take your money for an edit of the book, which is, and you don't know what you don't know, right? And so
Right.
Tina sent this off and spent money, and what did you get back? Do you remember? Like,
Oh, it was terrible. Like
but you
they
didn't
didn't
know.
even know what they were doing either.
But you did. You
Mm.
got it back and you're like, "All right, it's great. Now I'm gonna send it to beta readers." Like, you just kind of made the few corrections. The person, like, told you, "This is one of the greatest stories I've ever read," right?
Yep. Yeah.
Right.
Oh, yeah.
And
It
which
wasn't.
which helps, right?
And
Let's be
that's the version that I rewrote because of the beta reader who was the English professor at the University of Washington's feedback
Mhm.
as a beta reader. I was like, this story is crap, and I started all over again.
Wow. So it was a total utter rewrite.
Hmm.
And the person who edited it for you presented it to you as ready for publication.
Yeah.
Because they just wanted
Goodness.
their money. They were happy to receive the money from you.
So I just
All
want to
right.
say, like, if you're just catching this, if you haven't listened to us before, and you're like, so how do I know all this stuff? Go back and listen to last week's number 195, where we talk about the different kinds of edits and the different kinds of editors and what
Mhm.
each one does and what to expect from them. And that'll help you
Yes.
there.
Absolutely, because there's proofreaders, there's developmental edits, etc. And they're all different things, right?
Right.
So what you need and what you search for, how do you manage that? Like, how do you balance that? Do you know what I'm saying?
I'm sorry, what was your question? I missed the
Well,
question in that.
I'm just looking for a discussion of what you need versus what you search for. Like,
Oh,
how do you then do you search for someone that specifically calls themselves a developmental editor?
right.
And then when you're searching, how do you weed them out? Is it by what they charge you, that kind of thing? Do
Well,
you know what I'm
yeah, for
saying?
sure. Like, we probably need to start with, like, the money aspect of it, right? Like, what do you expect to pay for an editor? And to be honest, this is a tricky question because, we have no idea where you are when you're listening to this episode,
Yeah.
because this could be 10 years from now, you might be listening to this episode and the numbers could be completely different. So because the prices vary from year to year, sometimes from month to month. It depends on how much experience your editor has. It depends on how bad the manuscript is you give them,
Yeah.
and so one of the things that we've talked about in the past before too is that we have a self-editing episode as well. I believe it's I don't want to say what number it is. It'll be in the show notes. I'll make sure and add it to the show notes. But in the make sure you self-edit as much as possible, because the
Yes.
cleaner the copy is that you get to your editor, the cheaper your editor is going to be. Because if I want to hire somebody only to I want to get them to the point where they're doing my copy editing, which is the step right before proofreading. If that's who I'm paying for, but I give them something that needs developmental help, if I give them something that they are constantly stopping for things that they shouldn't be stopping for, it's going to take longer, which is going to cost you more, or they're going to not give you a good edit in other areas. It just makes it too difficult for them. I see so many times in Facebook groups that I'm in, people complaining about their edits, and someone else coming back and be like, they were a great editor for me. And you makes you wonder, is it because you didn't give them a good clean copy, or are they really a bad editor? Like, I would never
Yeah.
want to be an editor, because you can get slammed so bad in these writing groups on Facebook. I would never want to do that. And it could be the original author's fault too. Who knows? So,
As
Yeah.
an aside, it's episode 190
oh,
that we
thank
most
you.
recently discussed it. You're welcome. And I was busy Google searching that. And so I'm sorry if I repeat something that you immediately
No.
just said. But I feel like they should always offer you a sample of what they can do for you.
Mm-hmm.
And like, frankly, if the sample of what they can do for you is too much money than what you're willing to pay, that means
Mm-hmm.
you have more self-editing to do. Because honestly, my personal advice is to figure out what you can afford for an editor and then find that. But that does not mean finding the cheapest person. That means finding the person who can do what you need at the budget that you have, which
Mm-hmm.
means you're going to have to work harder to get it spiffy enough that an editor is willing to do it at the price that you can afford. Does that make sense? Like, if
Absolutely.
you send them 2 chapters or a chapter or whatever they agree, the first 1,000 words, whatever the editor agrees to do for you as a sample, and it's chock full of red lines, it's chock full of, whatever it is you're hiring them to do, they had to do a lot of work. Well, then you're going to
Mm-hmm.
have to pay a lot of money, which I know kind of does hand in hand with what you said, Jen.
Right. Exactly. So let's talk about, let's move over to let's get into the meat of this.
Yeah,
Where are
right.
places? Because this whole episode came from a listener question on one of our previous episodes. I believe it was 190,
Mhm.
where they want to know, where do we find editors? And so let's start off with the first one, and we're going to have Tino be able to talk a little bit more about this. But Fiverr. Can you find editors on Fiverr? Yes, you can. Tina, do you have any commentary about this?
Yes. If you pay $5 for an editor, you will get a $5 quality editor.
Mm,
You paid more than $5,
I
so,
did. I
but
think I might have
still.
paid $30.
Oh, I thought it was 100, but still,
No,
100 is not a
it's
still.
lot
not.
for an
It
editor.
wasn't much. And
Okay.
you get what you pay for.
Mhm.
I mean, that is just true across the board a lot of times. But in this case, um, you could find a good editor on Fiverr. I did not, but
Mhm.
I didn't go in knowing exactly what kind of edit I needed.
Yep.
So if I knew that and I was able to look at their profile and see exactly what kind of edit they were offering,
Mhm.
and in their profile, when they say, I'm going to do a copy edit, they usually say, and these are the things that I'm including in a copy edit. So you'll know right off the bat if this is the right editor. I would look at their ratings and not necessarily go for the 5 stars. If you're trying to budget, I think
Mhm.
300 4 stars might be better than 9 5 stars.
Ah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Because
They have more experience as well. Mhm.
right. And what was the other? Let me gonna look at the outline because I put a bunch of stuff in here I didn't want to forget to say.
You had also said that, make sure that, especially if you're gonna go that route, get sample edits from multiple
Right.
people, which I
I
would
would,
say no matter where you find an editor, get sample
yeah,
edits and do it from multiple editors.
yes,
Yes.
at
Yes.
least 5. That's my opinion.
Mhm.
I would get at least 5 and compare them.
Right.
Like, did this person find a bunch of stuff these people didn't find? That might be the better editor.
Mhm. Agree.
Can I just like take a moment here to just verbalize some things that are going through my head? I promise it won't be long, but what I basically want to say is like slow down, because I
Mm.
think that the biggest issue, especially with people who got their first manuscript hot off the press, they want to get it out there. They're in such a hurry to release their beautiful manuscript to the world that they don't want to take the time to really vet editors, because every person, it takes 24 hours to get back the sample, and it's like you want to publish that book tomorrow. And so the idea that this is not going to be instant is anathema to some people, particularly people who come to writing as this ideal of like putting out many, many books to get an income established. You need to lay some solid groundwork. And so anything worth having, there's a price to pay. And for this, a lot of it is time investment. And doing these things that slow you down sounds really annoying and obnoxious, but it's just a fact, because if you rush through this, you're going to end up waiting some future time, because now you're like, oh no, I have to go and do this big edit, which is going to delay things at that point. So I just wanted to throw that out there.
And I just
Agree.
wanted to add to, if you get these samples back and you're so new at this that you have no clue what you should expect to be looking at when you're looking at these samples, take it to another author friend or find somebody who has experience, who
Mm.
can then you could show them to them, and they can point out to you and teach you what you should be looking for.
Very good.
Agreed. Agreed. And so, since of the three of us, only one of us has used Fiverr for an editor, did not have a great experience with it, but we're not saying that all Fiverr editors are bad. So your mileage may vary. But these are our suggestions if you're going to go the Fiverr route. Another route that we have not used but comes highly recommended is Readsy. Now, Readsy.com is a website that has lots of resources for writers. I've used their ebook creation. They
Mm-hmm.
they have a like an online ebook formatter for you. And when I was just first starting out with my first book, to get my book into ebook, just to use it as a reader magnet, I used their software, and it was a little clunky, but it's improved so much in the
Mhm.
past several years. So, but they also have a list of editors. And here's the great thing about Readsy is they are all vetted, meaning not everybody can just put their name up there. So Readsy does some research and make sure that they are legit editors, that they know what they're talking about. But what I found is I think you're going to pay a little bit more for Readsy, well, for sure, than for Fiverr. You might find a really good editor and pay a good amount of money on Fiverr, but you're not going to probably find a cheap editor on Readsy because they're all professionals that have been vetted.
I went in and I went into both Fiverr and Readsy this week as if I was looking for an editor, and
Oh,
there was a
awesome.
couple differences that I noticed.
Mm-hmm.
On Readsy, they do not give you the prices up front. So, like
Mm.
on Fiverr, they would say for a 40,000 page manuscript, this is what you expect to pay. They have a little button that you have to click that says ask for a quote on
Mm-hmm.
all of their profiles.
I hope nobody has
However,
a 40,000 page manuscript, by the way.
I'm just saying
You
that's
mean 40,000 words?
for 40,000 words.
Okay. Sorry. I had to.
So, and also the pros of Readsy, every published book that they have edited, they have a picture and a link
Mm,
in their profile. So these are published books on Amazon or wherever that they have actually, so you can see their portfolio. And they also have a resume style job history.
mm-hmm.
Like, so if they've worked for a publishing house or a newspaper, or it's all listed right there in their profile. So that's some of the pros and cons of that I
And
noticed.
And the great thing is that you can go and click on the portfolio and look at all of the reviews. And if
Right.
any of the reviews are like, this needs to be edited, then you're like, oh, okay. That would give you, yeah, that's great. That's
Mhm.
really great.
Well, and I would take this moment to say, if you do not have an email address set up specifically for author correspondence, you should. If you have your own website, maybe have already done that. But that is something that you should do so that you have a way to make sure you're being professional in your correspondence and not missing anything because it's going to your personal email. All right.
All right.
So, what's next? What are we going to say? Oh, we've got one more way to find an editor,
Right.
and that is,
Word of mouth. Now,
yep.
this is the largest umbrella. When we were doing this outline, we ended up putting a bunch of different things under there because they kind of all went together, even though they were like separate. So, when we say word of mouth, we mean referrals from other writing friends, people that you see. Like, there's different places. So first of all, referrals. You find someone that you know that's a writer and ask them who they've used as an editor. Like, that's kind of one of the most common things, is like someone specifically in your genre, because I know we've talked about having multi-genre writing groups and the advantages of that. Um, and my editor does not write in my genre, but there are advantages to having someone in your genre that will edit it because they understand the tropes. There have been times that Jamie and I have had to communicate about like trope type things that a romance editor would not, like, they would understand it. Or if I'm missing something, they would catch it. So, but of course I'm never missing
And that's
anything.
one thing that it does get listed in Reads, both Readsy and Fiverr.
Oh.
They will say, I edit this type, I edit romance, or I edit
Mhm.
science fiction, or
That's
so.
awesome.
Yeah.
So when you're looking for referrals, one of the places is your writing buddies, right? You know
Mhm.
us, we are all about writing groups, and that's a great resource to find things like, anyone in your group that's had a book edited. Was it a positive experience? Was it a negative experience? Because you also want to know who to avoid as editors as well, right? This is how I found every single one of my editors, is except for my proofreader, is through my writing group. Different writing groups that I've been involved in, is that's how I found my editors. Um, and I also know that people have found them through Facebook groups as well. Again, writing specific Facebook groups, but do not join a Facebook group and immediately go in and say, I need an editor, because you're going to get first of all, you might get a bunch of sharks coming at you that really aren't good editors, right? Go in, interact, watch the group for a while, see who the people are that come on and give good advice, see who the people are that are on there and encouraging other people and lifting other writers up, because you will find the people in these writing groups that kind of like float to the top as those are the helpful people, then those are the ones that maybe you would reach out to, or you know, when you do put a post on there, I write historical Christian romance and I'm looking for an editor. Any suggestions? When they give a suggestion, maybe you'll notice it a little bit more. But again, go back to what we said earlier. Get all kinds of examples. Have more than one editor do a test chapter for you. Make sure that you're vetting the people that you're looking at as well.
And another thing that you can do on Facebook, when you go into a group, you can click the little magnifying glass and do a search. So and it will search within that group. And so you can search editor, and you can see what the history of posts has been before you can, that you haven't seen, of people discussing editors, and you might be able to find something in there too. And another thing I wanted to add is I met a lady at this book festival I went to last weekend who was a member of the Detroit area romance writers group. And she found 3 or 4 editors in that group. And when she sent the samples out to them, and she sent the same sample to all of them, like one of them just floated to the top because this lady had so much more helpful suggestions, and she found things that none of the others found. And so that's just another example of ways that you can vet your editor.
Yep.
Okay, ladies, I can be a rather mean kind of a person financially. I mean, also attitudinally. However, what I'm saying is I pinch pennies. So how do you all feel about the beauty school method where you find somebody who's trying to break into editing and they're like, I'll give you a bargain basement price, or I'll even do it for free. How do you guys feel about that? I'd like each of your opinions.
Go ahead, Tina.
Well, I've done that. So, and I'm pretty happy with the results. Could somebody from Random House do a better job? Maybe. But I feel like my books are good enough in the market. Like, I don't get a lot of reviews that say, oh, the typos, or oh, the grammar, or oh, this or that. Those are not the kind of feedback that I get from people. And so I'm happy with what I did.
I would say that to be full disclosure, I have yet to pay for an editor. I've traded out work. I've had friends. I buy little gift basket. I make up like a little gift basket for my proofreader because she's just happy to do it for me. She is not a professional, but she should be. She's that good. So I've yet to pay. Now, does that mean because I don't want to pay that if I get a subpar like edit from somebody, then I'm just gonna keep going with them? No, because I respect my work and God's call in my life way more than that. So if I were to go with the bargain basement and it didn't work out, I would reboot it and try again. So you might end up like having more work to do it that way, or you may end up like I have and really luck out with who you have editing for you. So I just say buyer beware, basically.
It sounds just like going to beauty school. You might end up with a real hack job of a haircut, or you might find an artist in the making, right?
Right.
And
exactly.
I would think that if you did give someone a shot who's trying to build their platform and you were unhappy with the result and even had to go get a second edit, or I might even think that the person would appreciate getting a copy of the expertly done or more proficiently finished job so that they could improve in their craft also, because presumably they're trying to get better. Presumably they're trying to land more clients, and you want to be honest. And then also they know why you're not returning. They know that, you've secured someone who's given you a little bit more of what you need. And hopefully the dialogue can be, there's this challenge. This is why we always say relationship is important, because there's a challenge between giving somebody feedback that might seem hurtful to them, but then ultimately at the end of the day, you care more about the work than you care about your feelings, is what's supposed to be going on. So
hopefully you can do both.
Yes.
Like how Jamie presented it I would say would be able to help both. Yeah.
Agree.
But just like I was when I first had my first book out there and was getting my first critiques back and it hurts and it's painful. probably the same thing for a new editor to find out that
Sure.
they didn't do a really great job, that they need to get a little bit better at it. That probably is painful too. So just beware and be ready for it. And just
And I
like
think
in everything, enter it with prayer.
Yes, and I think that it's an opportunity for you to train them and say, "Okay, here's what we're gonna
Mhm.
do. I'm gonna send you 1,200 words, and you're gonna send me back a sample," like, if they don't
Mhm.
already know to do that, right? So,
Right.
it's an opportunity for you to maybe help them so that they can maybe become someone that you recommend in the future.
That's kind of a great idea too. Like if you know somebody who wants to be an editor, send them something unedited that you've already had edited by someone else that is good.
Ooh, mhm.
And then it could be a learning experience for them. You can sit down and share with them and teach them, or you might find out that, wow, they're pretty good. But then there's no stress on either one of you, and it can be a learning experience for that person because often as when we're starting out as writers, we tend to use friends or friends of friends. And so you also want to be concerned about relationships. So I think that would be a good idea too.
I
And
love that.
just as like a funny note for the to end this topic of conversation, just to as an illustration of how absolutely clueless I was. When I went on Fiverr looking for an editor, I found the feedback that I had sent back to that lady that I hired, telling her
Mhm.
how what a wonderful job she did and how I was going to use her again.
That's hilarious.
Wow.
Yeah, I was like, "What?" I had no clue. No clue whatsoever.
That's
Well, you were
hilarious.
just eager. You were
Mhm.
eager new
Like, while the
writer.
other horses were racing on the track, I was, like, frolicking in the alfalfa. I don't know.
Well,
Like,
so if anyone want like it's so funny because 'cause we've all been on this journey together for even before we started this podcast, but I can see the growth in each one of us over the years. All 4 of us. I can see how our writing has improved, how as artists we've have improved and how we've changed. And that's one of the things, Tina, that was your biggest downfall at the beginning was everything had to be done right now. Like you raced to the end of everything
I
and you
just
knew where
wanted to
you
get it
wanted.
out there.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and not just with the editing, but with your writing too. You knew where you were going and you just wanted to get there. And so often your story would be lacking because you just were getting the story out. And you have worked so hard to improve like the plot and improve like the craft and that's just from practice. So if you're just starting off, like, don't compare yourselves to us because go back and watch episode 1 and 2 and 3 because trust me, that's where you're at, and, like, that's more realistic, and we were a mess. We were a hot mess back then, and we still are. In 5 years, we're gonna look back and laugh at these people right now. I'm just telling you.
yeah.
So,
But
Yep.
we've never claimed to be experts. We're just on the
never.
journey, and we can help lift up some people who are further back than where we are right now.
Homemade.
Exactly. Gigi says, "I'm so strange having on all all praising edit, even if you know it's bad, hurts me so much more than a truthful edit. I so appreciate honesty."
Ah,
I am that person that the people that are closest to me are the ones that have parts of my life have approached me and said, "Jen, you're wrong. Jen, we need to have a talk." Like, in times that they didn't have to, but, like, were honest with me in uncomfortable times and uncomfortable and when it was not easy for them, and those are the people that I know will have my back when I need it, not pat my back, but will have my back, and so,
Mhm.
yes, honesty is so important. It's, like, probably the most important thing to me because I've had so many dishonest people in my life that hurt me, right?
Yeah.
So, I would rather have you hurt me in that way than the other way that dishonesty hurts,
And
so
and then in this context, if you're dishonest, you're not helping the person at
no.
all. You
No.
have to
mm.
be honest for them to be able to improve.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I think we covered all the bases. Would you ladies agree? Time to move
Yes.
on. All
Yep.
right. Time to move on to the feeding of the backs. And are we feeding our backs pumpkin pie today? It seems like we ought to. No, we are giving feedback to one another. And the feedback is going to be on a sprint piece that we wrote just before we went live here, although I did mine a little bit earlier. We spent 15 minutes writing a piece based on the given prompt, and you can too. Go and post your written piece on your own social and make sure to join our Facebook group and post it there so that fellow listeners can see what you came up with for this prompt, which was Jen.
5 words this week, my favorite: person, tooth, example, swim, and shell, and I use all of them except example. And I wrote in my world of Widows of the West. So,
How? Well, let's find out. Let's
all right.
listen.
And you listen to me, Cade McNeil. I will fight tooth and nail to keep this ranch. This is my land, bought with my money, and my father didn't work himself to death to provide a dowry just so Denny could run this place into the ground. And there ain't a person alive who is going to take it away from me, no matter how much money they try to shell out. It isn't for sale. Cade wasn't certain what tugged at his heart more, the untold truths that Colleen had just let slip in her angry tirade, or the way her Irish accent grew more distinct in her anger. She was a spitfire, full of passion and fire, and the blonde highlights in her hair did little to subdue the fiery intent of the red hair it mingled with. Cade wanted nothing more than to swim in that anger, to be tossed and turned in its waves, to reach deep within the recesses of her pain, and to pull her to him, to rescue her from the storm she had no idea she was trapped within. But he couldn't, because he was part of the reason she swam in that angry tide, and that realization took his already broken heart and shattered it.
Oh.
That's it.
It's not enough, which is not negative. That's not a negative. That's a positive feedback. Oh,
It is a short
goodness.
one, 216 words. That's very short. I crafted a lot more today than just sprinting.
Yeah,
So
there's a lot of emotion in that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Very heavy. I mean, again, positive.
And everybody knows I'm not really a romance reader, but I do appreciate romance in whatever genre I'm reading in. And I love that how he sees like the anger and the fire, and then that like stirs the passion in him. But I
Mm.
always love those kind of storylines.
Oh, awesome. Thanks.
All right. So I want to know, Jen, did you fit all of the words like in that first sentence? Because it
No.
No, I'm just kidding, but it was awesome. Like the use of the word shell.
Yeah.
Because
Shell it
my
out. I
mind
don't even know
immediately
that's
went to the beach. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't even know if that is appropriate for this time period. I'm gonna have to research that. And tooth and nail, that made me too modern. I don't know. I don't, these are the things that when I write and I just get the writing out, then I have to go back and check and make sure I'm not using term, because that drives me crazy when I will read something, a time period piece, and they use terminology that I know is not appropriate for the time period. So it just drives me crazy. So,
Shell says, so incredible, Jen, so emotional. And
well,
Teresa says,
thanks,
love
Shell.
that, Jen. And I hear you with the historical. I mean, we talk about me trying to write more in my little Appalachian girl world, and she's from the past. And those are the kinds of
Mhm.
things where I think I might biff it. Gigi says, Colleen sounds like such a spitfire. So good, Jen. Yeah, absolutely.
I was trying to craft that her hair, like the whole swirling and her hair, like I don't know if it's windy out, but like that she's got strawberry blonde hair, but like the red is like fighting for like I don't know, like I don't know where I was going. Like I felt like
And
I
I
was
don't know if you
swirled up
said
in it.
this, but in my mind, her hair is very curly, and like so like the wind like grabs the curls, and then she has all this.
Yeah, I don't know if her hair's curly or not. Maybe I said it before. I don't know. Again,
In
this
my
is all
mind, it's
sprinting. So
curly.
much of this book is like just kind of being like I'm not gonna be able to keep it all, or like I have to like make it into like a good story with a good plot too. But so much of these characters are just coming to life just from all these sprints. So
Right. Which
yeah,
goes to show you it's never wasted time when you
right.
write, even if it doesn't see the light of day, which again goes back to slow down. And I think I'm like talking to myself too, because sometimes a piece just needs longer to become what it needs to be.
Right.
But I
And I
feel like you're saying there's a duality there, Jen. It's not just that her hair is warring, like, is the red going to consume the blonde, but is her ability
it
to love, is it going to stay alive? Because her ability to love is as small as those highlights in her hair, and
yeah.
the red is the rage and anger, and like, no, love is for chumps kind of a thing.
That's kind of what I was feeling as I was crafting this. Yeah, for
Yeah.
sure. And like I knew all along, like from almost the beginning of the story, that the land that she's on was purchased with her money, like her dowry money. And then she was just basically, well, once you're married, like, I'm the
Hmm.
man, I get to control. And so like that's part of her passion about holding on to this land, and so and I never knew how I was going to fit into the story. So this will obviously get massaged, right, and fixed a little bit, but this is I like, and I think this is gonna happen early in the story. I already have a scene written that I'm gonna fit this into, so.
Awesome.
Way to go. And Gigi, I already got your praise. Therese Thomas says she loves it.
Yep.
Yeah.
Right.
Very
Awesome.
good.
Thank you, everyone. Appreciate it.
All righty.
All right, Jamie, what'd you write? Yours is way longer than mine. I think I saw how long yours was in there.
For something. And I did not get all of the words, although I thought I'm a shoo-in to get all of the words this time, but I did not. So here we go. Stop that, I said, wincing. Instead of pulling her fingers away from her mouth, Millie chortled and drew closer and wiggled the tooth. Ack! I looked away and put my hands on her warm and sandy shoulders, the pinkness of which reminded me once again of my maternal failing of not providing sunscreen for this outing, and put distance between her wet bathing suit and my gray cotton sundress, which I sensed was wicking up seawater exponentially by the second. I was going to look as though I'd had an accident, I knew, and this would be fodder for further humor among my children, two of whom had been parked at my feet, wrapped like shelled peanuts in their towels, and all of whom were giggling conspiratorially at my discomfort. Millie, encouraged by her sister and brother's laughter, now used her tongue to wiggle the loose tooth, widening her eyes and pulling her lips apart at the place where they connected with her cheeks to make sure I got a really, really good look. And suddenly I was laughing too. Complete hysterics. I wish I would have gotten a picture, I exclaimed, wondering if I would ever stop laughing and wondering if I would actually soil my dress. Of course, my finding the situation funny was enough to bring down the room, and big brother and sister resumed the sulky dispositions they'd assumed about 15 minutes after arrival. Millicent started dance hopping in the sand, which brought a chorus of protest, so she plopped into a squatted position and began funneling the sand through her fists. Let's swim some more, she chirped, after only a few blissful moments of silence. I'm hungry, my oldest said, then nudged her brother with her foot. We're hungry, he said. Well, what did you all bring for lunch? I asked with faux innocence. I'd left packing beach snacks to the children, and they in turn had left the job up to their little sister, preferring to spend their precious preparatory time getting those last 10 minutes of sleep. I brought chocolate. Millie leapt up and dusted her sandy bottom with her hands, then reached behind my chair for the beach bag. You packed chocolate? Her brother asked. In the beach bag? Her sister asked. Yep, Millie said with obvious pride in her resourcefulness. She started digging in the bag while her siblings shot glances to one another. Though the ocean breeze made the weather seem mild and agreeable, it was easily 90 degrees. Time's up.
Oh, I love this. Jamie, read the line again where you use the word shell.
Oh, goodness. I don't
It's
think
up-
did I use the word shell?
You did. It was up
Shelled
early.
peanuts.
Shelled
Ah!
peanut. Yes. So great, because you're the one that said that are you surprised that you used shell?
Yes, I shelled is not. I meant peanuts in the shell anyway. So
Right.
whatever. But like I forgot that I even used that word. It must have subliminally soaked into my head.
Yeah. I just love
That's
that you
funny.
were like laughing about that your mind went straight to the beach, which you went to the beach, but you never used the word shelled that way. Like it was just so good, so
I was
creative.
sitting here like, how did I not get the word shell? I'm at the beach. She could have been picking up shells. And I did use it. That's so bizarre.
That's awesome.
That's funny. Well, thanks for
done.
noticing.
I'm so disappointed that it stopped before she found the melted chocolate. Like I wanted to know about that mess. I just know that you would have some way of describing it that would make me laugh.
That's true. But I kind of like it's kind of delicious, pun intended. It's kind of delicious though that we don't like we already know. We grown the point this is how you know where the shattering moment is in this story is where we all groaned. Where the little girl said, I brought chocolate. We're all like, no. Like and then you finish out. So like short stories are so great. And if you aren't well versed in short stories, we do have an episode about that. You can Google that or go into YouTube and search it. But you can also read James Scott Bell has a great short book about writing short stories, and he talks about the shattering moment. And Jamie's so good at it. So good at always including a sharing moment all over the place in the story. And so I love when I listen to your stuff, when I listen to you read, I love like discovering where your sharing moment is because it's never predictable. Like some people when they write short stories, it's always in the same spot, but either right at the end but yours is always all over the place, and you're so good at it.
Thanks, I appreciate it. I got some really nice feedback. This is why I love Fridays. Oh, Jenna's frozen.
I love it.
Uh-oh. Oh,
Oh,
she's back.
here I am. I don't know what happened. Jamie, so much awesomeness in this. Love the pink shoulders and Millie's loose tooth and the snacks. Chocolate made me smile. Agreed.
Yeah.
Shell says, funny and fun, Jamie. Yeah, so good.
I
Love it.
appreciate it. I love Friday. All right, Tina, what did you do with these 5 words?
Well, I have to tell you that I started out with this sentence that used several of the words, not having any clue what I was going to
I
write.
love that. We've all done that
So
just
this
to get
is
the
not
words in.
in any world, anywhere. I don't even know it. So it just kind of came to me as I was going. This wasn't the type of beach with soft white sand to dig your toes into or walk along the shoreline looking for the perfect shell while the waves lapped at your ankles. A person wouldn't come to this beach for an afternoon of fun in the sun. Here, the overhanging cliffs blocked all warmth from the sun, and the shoreline was a jumble of rocks, some smooth, some jagged like a shark's tooth. Tony climbed up onto a boulder and stood on its edge, his back to the water, leaning back as far as he dared. It was no use. The overhang went further out than it looked, and he couldn't tell anything from here. He squatted down, watching the waves crash against the rocks, sending white foam spray into the air, adding to the wetness of his already drenched skin and hair. He walked along the cliff wall in a desperate attempt to find even a tiny opening, some hope of finding his way out of this place. The walls curved in almost perfect half circle and jutted out into the crashing waves on both sides. It was almost as if a child had scooped it out with a shovel, and he was just an unfortunate hermit crab caught up in an imaginary game. Tony made his way back to the boulder. Though he'd checked it a half a dozen times already, a part of him, unwilling to give up hope, made him try over and over to see if there was some way to scale the cliffs. How he'd come to be here, he didn't know. One moment he'd been lying on the deck of Fernando's yacht, his legs stuck to the rubbery strips of lounge chair, his tanning lotion acting as the glue and
Mm.
making a sucking sound when he broke contact. Sheila had just gone below to find another bottle of wine. Fernando was droning on about some fish he had just caught last week. Then he'd woken up here, blood seeping from a gash on his forehead. Where the others were, or the yacht, he had no idea. The boulder was gone. The tide was rising. Panic drove all the water he'd swallowed from his stomach and onto the slowly disappearing beach. 3, 2, 1.
Ooh,
Wow.
what a good setup.
Yeah. So I know that like you said you had no idea where it was going, but like this is good. Like I want to know more. I want more. Like you think you'll continue this at all or no? Or this was
Probably
just fun?
not. I
It
don't
was just
know.
fun,
Like,
right? Yeah.
I
And
went
I know
from like this isn't a normal beach to like this is a disaster. So I don't
Right.
even know what.
and I know you said you don't know who these people are, but it's obviously Tony Stark. So
I don't know who that is.
he's Iron Man because he's really wealthy and whatever. I don't even know where that came from in my head. But the point is, I really like that it turned out that it was a shipwreck because I thought it was maybe he's trying to trace someone's footprints up the cliff. Like I put my head, I thought it was murder mystery because of what you typically write.
Mhm.
So the unfurling of the plot line was super great for me. I really appreciated the discovery of this piece with you, which I'm excited for you that it was a nice surprise for you, I feel, right? Like
Yeah.
I like that kind of a story that kind of comes to me as I'm going.
Yeah. And in
Yeah.
my head there was like like the ship just exploded, which is why he doesn't remember how he got there.
Which is very Tony
Mm.
Stark. So
You can tell I don't watch TV or really go to the movies because I have no idea who these people are.
That's awesome.
that is awesome.
Hercule Poirot. Now we can talk about him.
He would be less than thrilled with that scenario also, I might add.
Yeah.
Yeah, he would not like it. Gigi says, Tina, wow, love the reference of the hermit crab. Yes, that's hilarious. And I loved how she was like paralleling a normal day at the beach throughout the whole thing. Like she
Mhm.
started there and then she had a kid digging out. Like it was really good.
Mhm.
And she said, how did he get from the yacht to this ominous beach? So good. Shell said, great, Tina. Love the suspense at the end. Yeah.
Mhm.
Thanks, guys.
Totally agree.
Agreed.
Okay, so we're gonna real quickly wrap up the podcast with the what's next. Want to find out what's next for everybody? Jen, what's going on with you? What's next?
Editing. Still working on the edits to get through this last book and get it out there. I just need to be done with it. Like, I love these characters and I love this series, but it needs to be done. So
Yeah, you're ready to move on.
I'm ready to move on. So that's all I'm doing this week. I'm gonna try to get some writing done too, because I just know I need to keep that part of my creativity going. But it's hard for me when I'm editing. It's like it's all like my brain can do, So that's what I'm doing is editing.
Yep, I hear that. I have zero writing plans for my immediate future. I have no idea what I am doing. So I guess I'm just gonna I will be done and just cast myself into the sea of who knows what will happen to Jamie this week. And so check in with me next week. What's
All right.
next for you, Tina?
Well, I'm just going to continue with what I've been doing. It seems to be working. And my daughter is 34 weeks pregnant. So I'm
So
going over to help
exciting.
her finish putting the baby's room together tomorrow. And so, yeah, it's just a lot of looking forward to the next few weeks.
All right. And I'm looking forward to seeing everybody again next time. But for now, that concludes this episode of the Christian Indie Writers Podcast. Until next time, may your pen be prolific, may your deadlines be met, and may all of your words honor Christ. Bye for now.
I know.